Have you ever driven over a highway bridge and couldn't help but look below? Or stood on a shoreline's rocky ridge just to watch the water flow? And count yourself as one of the few with a different set of dreams, the kind that keeps you up at night, 'cause you can't wait to get to that stream. It's more than a river. It's more than the water flowing or where it's going. It's the grip on the paddle and the shit in the saddle, the V in the boulders and the lean in the shoulders. When you reach for the eddy, it doesn't get better than this. Yes, it's more. So much more than a river.
All right. I love that intro, Andrea.
Isn't that great? That's Jerry Vandiver, a songwriter guy out in Nashville. He's got 4 CDs of paddle songs.
4 CDs. I gotta pick some of those up. I love a good fiddle, and it's wonderful to hear that.
Love it. Love it. So welcome, everybody. We are having live conversations with Cross Currents Leadership. We're doing this live on Facebook, Substack, and YouTube every Sunday and Wednesday night in January and February. We're gonna bleed a little bit into March. We had a few extra speakers who wanted to get on board, and the audience was excited about it. So I was like, all right, let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's keep going for a little bit. We're talking to the experts in paddle sports and outdoor recreation, and we're getting you those golden nuggets. They're going to level up your leadership opportunities and the things you can offer in your paddle sports and outdoor recreation offerings in 2026. You are in for a special treat tonight. You talked to him for just a second. Jeff Moag from the Water Sports Foundation is with us. We are lucky enough to have, he is one of the best storytellers in paddle sports. And we're lucky to have you on board with us tonight, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Andrea.
So Jeff is the Water Sports Foundation content director. But before that, he was managing editor of Paddler Magazine, editor-in-chief of Canoe and Kayak Magazine, led the development of Kayak Fish Magazine, Sup the Mag, and developed the Canoe and Kayak Awards. Just a stellar resume. He's got freelance credits that span things like Sports Illustrated, Outside, Adventure Journal, Men's Journal, and the Washington Post. I mean, this is the A-team. So, Jeff, thank you for coming and bringing some of your stories to us.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Andrea, for the intro. Got me a little bit embarrassed, but yeah, just really happy to be here.
Well, I want to talk about the things that you're doing at Water Sports Foundation, because it's really a unique niche. You guys are telling some phenomenal stories. You're doing it in articles and social media, but you're also developing a resource library. So talk to us about that. Tell us about what you're working on.
Well, yeah. So the Water Sports Foundation was founded back in 2004. And we do safety outreach for boating and paddling. And when we say boating in that context, we mean power boating and paddling. Since 2016, we have had a concerted effort to kind of preach the safety gospel to paddlers, and specifically to the most at-risk group of paddlers who, believe it or not, are the beginners, right? It's not necessarily the folks that are out, running the whitewater or doing the big, offshore expeditions in sea kayaks, because there's, within those niches of paddling, there's a really strong kind of safety culture and safety ethic. But people that are just brand new to the sport, they often don't have that kind of that entryway to get that information that they need. Just the most basic stuff of, make sure you wear your life jacket. If you're on a stand-up paddleboard, make sure you've got a leash to you. So it's, if you lose the board, you can get back on it, get back to safety. And a lot of folks, for example, if you buy a kayak from, let's say, Walmart, which is, they're chained to the wall in my Walmart, right? I see them every time I go there, right?
Yeah.
Low price. It's almost, it could almost be an impulse buy. Wow, I'm going to get one of those. But in the process of doing that, you might not actually talk to a salesperson that can tell you where to go. You know, where's the safe place and the good place for a beginner to go and paddle in my area, right? What do I need to know? What do I need to make sure that I have, you know, a life jacket and the proper clothing? So we try to fill that gap by providing safety messaging, just almost any way we can. We do it through through magazines or paddling websites. We do a lot of work there. We do videos. We work with retailers, and we work actually with those big box retailers and work to get them the resources that they need to be able to talk safety and give people the skills in the background that they need to safely enjoy paddling and to have a great time when they're out there.
Yeah, well, and I know you've told me a little bit about the Safe Paddle Project, and as I understand it, and help me understand it, part of what you're doing is writing articles to kind of meet customers where they are, and
Exactly.
those,
Yeah.
those most search terms on SEO optimization, but then weave in, kind of sneak the vegetables into the meal, right? You're weaving in the consistency.
Exactly. We're kind of sugarcoating the medicine, if you will. And you mentioned storytelling. That's the background that I come from. Not so much in this context where I'm actually talking to somebody, but when I have a little time to sit down in front of a keyboard and weave a great story, an adventure story. We do a lot of rescue stories where somebody has a close call, and as you work through that narrative can be very gripping. How did this person get into this situation? How did they get out? There's often a strong emotional component of, oh, thank gosh, they made it through this. But in telling that story, you also have the opportunity to say, well, if they had had a life jacket here, or if they had, the lead paddler had, caught an eddy and looked ahead to see what was happening, we could have prevented this. Or, here's the way that a team of paddlers came together. I got a great story about that I'm working on right now. How a team of paddlers kind of came together to effect a rescue, and the teamwork that we're used to, especially once you kind of advance a little bit within the paddling world and start to go on more challenging water, whether it be, be it whitewater, be it sea kayaking, the teamwork really becomes an element, right? And it's that culture I was talking about, where our culture as paddlers is to look out for each other, to make sure that we, develop the skills that we need to save somebody. So the story I'm working on right now, I'll keep this as brief as I can. It was a group of paddlers on the North Fork Payette River in Idaho, which is many of the folks out there know that's a kind of a classic Class 5 whitewater river. Yeah. And it's got a road that runs right alongside the river for most of the run. And a paddler was in an eddy waiting for his friend who was surfing a wave just upstream, and he watched a car come off that road, hit a rock, flip, land upside down in the river, and there were two people in that car, including a woman who was partially paralyzed, who was already partially paralyzed, not as a result of the accident. And the two that were right there on scene got the two people out, and within 10 minutes, a second group of boaters came down. One of them was a physician, and she was able to kind of take command of the situation. And, these 10 or so paddlers, plus a rafting van, that was running their shuttle, they stopped, and the, 4 or 5 raft guides kind of ran down the embankment and to lend a hand. And, long story short, those two people are safe at home now, having dinner with their families because of the skills and the presence of mind that those paddlers had, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that we try to tell those stories and celebrate those stories, because when you listen to something like that, it's kind of going off in the back of your mind, like, well, what would I do in that situation?
Mm-hmm.
Would I have tow rope that I need to, to pull my friend to safety if he was, capsized and hypothermic out in the middle of Lake Superior. That's another one I'm working on here. So there's so many of those interesting stories
Yeah.
that can be used as vehicles, not just to, kind of describe this is what you should do in an emergency, but to kind of get down in the reptilian cortex, right? Because honestly, I mean, that's how people have always learned, right? It goes back to
Right.
Aesop.
Well, and it's
Aesop,
the storytelling is kind of the next best thing to experiential learning with your own hands.
exactly. Yeah, it is. It is the next best thing, that actually being out there, taking a class, practicing the, the techniques and the rescues, and practicing the skills. And of course, that's something that we're always trying to promote as well. It's like,
Sure.
find your local club, find your roll session if you're a whitewater paddler or a sea kayaker, find your find your community. And I know, Andrea, you do a ton of work with meetup groups, right? Where somebody who wouldn't necessarily have a group of friends that are already, doing paddling, right? They're going out on a limb. I'm going to try, I'm going to try kayaking. What do I do next? And
I do a lot of education right at that entry level.
Exactly. And that's the most important, to start people off right. For safety, we talk a lot about safety, but also just to, to build the sport and to build the industry. When people go and have a pleasant experience where they're comfortable, they're not feeling scared, they're not too cold, they're not too hot, all these things that can be controlled just by kind of having the right gear and the, kind of a mentor that will be that to tell you how to do it, right? When you
Yep.
have that positive experience, that's what keeps you coming back,
Right.
and pretty soon that entry level person, well, maybe they're in the middle level where they're the person that's bringing, inviting somebody else into the sport.
Yep.
They're the person at a party that's talking about, like, oh, wow, I started paddling and I got to tell you, this is like, it's been a life changer for me. It's so much fun. You should try it. So,
Well, I want to make sure we get to the resources because we're about to run out of
absolutely.
time. And let's talk about some of the resources that by telling all these stories,
Mhm.
you've compiled quite a database.
We have, and so the way that we work typically is we partner with, we call them media providers, and these are like Rapid Media that does Kayak Angler and Paddling Magazine, paddling.com that a lot of people are familiar with. We work with Men's Journal, um, all these magazines and brands that have their own audiences. So we will do sponsored stories with them, or ask them to develop stories that we kind of direct them to, and those resources then go out, within those, out to those audiences within,
Mhm.
within the context of, let's say, Paddling Magazine, or one of those. So all of our stuff is distributed that way, and kind of a first row distribution. But we also keep it all archived on our website, which, get ready, everybody, it's www.watersportsfoundation.com. There's a screenshot of the site. Thank you, Andrea, for putting that up. Now, on this site, we have what we call our lessons for life story. This guy waving here is an example of one of those, which is one of these true life stories that we can learn from. There's a video component to that. There is a written story that kind of gives you the deeper levels. We also have photo libraries. We have B-roll video, so that if your local news is doing a story on paddling safety, they can actually go get some B-roll, some stock images or stock footage that they can use in their stories, so that you see people actually paddling the right way, with life jackets that fit and the paddles aren't upside down, and all of these kind of eye roll things that we often see. We eliminate that. We make sure that people have the resources that they need. And I should say, anybody within, the safety community, the RBS community, all of this material is available for everybody to use. We are supported by the United States Coast Guard through the Sport, Fish, and Recreation Boating Trust Fund. Can't believe I got that one all out in one word, but basically, you know, your boat taxes, your fuel taxes, your fishing gear taxes, all of that pays for activities like ours and like other great partners that are kind of doing this nonprofit safety work out there. So that means that everything is copyright free. If you need a video to describe kayaking safety, we have it. It's on our YouTube site. It's free to embed. And if you wanted to, cut a little bit out of it and use it on your social media, you can just reach out to me or to my partner, Jim Emmons. And we would be able to give you the hard copy of that footage to use any way that you like, that supports boating in general and specifically boating safety. So, I think we've got about 300 videos now on our YouTube site. Just search Water Sports Foundation on YouTube. Will be the first one that pops up.
Well, and I put in the show notes. So if you guys are watching this video, then you've got right there at your fingertips the links to the website, the links to the photo library, the links to their charts and graphs, the links to their reports and statistics, and the links to the video library. So guys, if you're doing something on social media and you're always looking for a visual, you're always looking for content that's going to promote paddling, that's going to promote education, that's going to promote safety, this is a resource you should have at your fingertips. This is something you should be sharing and sprinkling into your content plan.
And one last plug, if I have time, Andrea. It can be so difficult to find good images of people who are properly kitted out, right? And especially with the life jackets, if you're trying to find, just images and you go on a stock site or a free stock site in particular, the life jacket doesn't fit, it doesn't look right. The paddle is upside down. If it's an ASIM paddle, approximately 50% of the time it's upside down, right? So, to be able to have that resource where you're like, hey, I know I can go and get this and it's free and I have the rights. The caption information is in there. You're going to credit your photographer and the person and the location. You get all of that taken care of. So it's a great resource. We encourage everybody out there to make the most of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to give a couple of quick announcements. So hang with me, Jeff. You're going to love this too.
All right.
So
thank you, Andrea.
Our next live conversation is going to be Sunday night. We're going to have Jim Coffey, who is the incoming chair of the ACA Swiftwater Rescue Committee, internationally renowned Swiftwater instructor. He's going to tell us some phenomenal stories about some training he did recently in Mexico, and also, sneak peek, tell us what's coming up for World Drowning Prevention Day in July. He's organizing something phenomenal. You're going to want to be in on it. So check us out on Sunday. I also need to give a quick shout out to all of our viewers who were here last week with Jeff Atkins. If you're an ACA instructor, level 1, level 2 in Canoe Kayaker SUP, and you want to deliver the Smart Start facilitator certification, that professional certification, we've got that Zoom class with Jeff Atkins coming up on February 19th. Sign up for that now so you can get the instructor credential to deliver the credential. And as always, I want to thank all of our followers and subscribers. This has been such a fun series to put together. You guys have been great. The feedback's been great. And special warm fuzzies to the folks who upgraded their free subscription on Substack so they could get all the email updates, so they could keep me caffeinated and support the work that we're doing here at Cross Currents Leadership. You guys are the best. It's all gonna come back for the benefit of the whole community. So I really appreciate y'all. Thank you, Jeff. You guys do such great work, and it's so awesome to have your content to sprinkle into our content stream. I really appreciate you all.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for having us on.
All right, see everybody Sunday.
All right.